Hey everyone, it's Tom Caffarello with Agent Investor, the only brand that helps real estate agents get off the real estate roller coaster. And by now, you guys probably know about our agent partnership program. You probably know about how we are now giving away seller leads to agents in certain geographic areas. So I'm going to go right to the topic for today. And it's based on the agent partnership program going very well and having agents reach out to me to say, hey, I have come across a deal or two here and there, but I want to be a little bit more proactive about how to find fix and flip opportunities. And by the way, everything that we teach, the reason I call this Agent Investor is because everything that we do in order to generate flip opportunities is also going to help you build your sales business. Why? Because 99% of all great fix and flip opportunities come directly from seller appointments. Why are seller appointments great for agents? Well, it's pretty simple, right? More seller appointments means more listings. More listings means more open houses, means more buyers, means your name's out there in the community, means more referrals, etc. And with what's going on with the NAR settlement, regardless of how you think that's going to end up panning out, at the end of the day, we all know that real estate agents are always better off generating seller opportunities than buyer opportunities, if not for anything else, but just the fact that it takes a lot longer to close a sale from a buyer than it does with having a listing. So a lot of the stuff I'm going to be talking about today, specifically how to use virtual assistants to get deals. Really, what I'm saying is, how do you use virtual assistants in a way that's going to generate you more seller opportunities, right? Because at the end of the day, when you're going on a seller appointment, on average, 20% of all sellers are going to want to sell to investors, and about 80% are going to want to sell through the traditional model, right? And there are pros and cons of both, as we both know. If a seller is out there and they've got a great condition home and they've got all the time in the world to sell their house and they don't mind having open houses and their main objective is to get the most amount of money for their house, they're likely going to list their home on the multiple listing service the traditional way. And by the way, they probably should. Now, the 20% of all sellers that we meet with have a lot of different reasons why they're interested in a cash offer, why they might want the convenience, why they may want to sell as is, why they may want to pick the closing date, why they may want to leave their stuff behind. So 20% of the time when we generate these seller appointments, they end up taking our cash offer. Now, again, I know most of you already know about our agent partnership program, but if you generate a seller opportunity and you bring us out on the appointment and that seller ends up taking our offer, right? We're going to put up all the money. We're going to do all the construction, and then we're going to split the profits 50-50. Our average fix and flip profit that we split with agents is $80,000, meaning that on average, we are cutting checks for 40 grand to agents that refer us these deals. So the whole thing, using a virtual assistant to generate appointments, it is going to generate you more listings. It's going to generate you more flip opportunities. You don't have to partner with us if you use our methods, but if you do decide that it makes sense to partner with us, we encourage you to do so. I've got a goal of doing over 100 partner deals. Doing 100 partner deals in the next 12 months through real estate agents. So let's get into the topic today of how to use virtual assistants to generate these seller opportunities that are going to lead to both more listings and more killer flip deals. So first things first, why would we use a virtual assistant? What are virtual assistants good at? What are they bad at? What does it cost, etc. So when I read the book, I read a lot of books in the beginning of my career, but one book that I read is a book by Tim Ferriss called The 4-Hour Workweek. And I highly recommend, if you've got the time, to put that in on Audible or read through it, to take the time to do it. High level summary is that virtual assistants are capable of doing, quite a few things, and doing quite a few things in some cases better than us. And, the obvious thing is, why would anybody want to use a virtual assistant? Well, a virtual assistant is going to be a lot more cost effective than hiring a US based employee. A US based employee, that has some skills at this point, as I'm recording this in September of 2024, you'd probably be hard pressed to find, a US based employee that has any sort of skills for less than $20 an hour. Whereas, with a virtual assistant, you're more looking at like $3 or $4 or $5 per hour. So beyond that fact, there are a lot of people who don't have the money to invest, in a US based employee. And I'm not going to tell you which one is better or worse. I think that they're different. So I think that that's part of the discussion as well, to say, what things could you hire a virtual assistant for? What things maybe shouldn't you hire them for? And when we say virtual, like, what countries might you hire them for? Okay. So the reason why I think virtual assistants are powerful, and the reason why I use them in my business, and the reason why I would recommend that if you have some money sitting aside that you might want to consider them, is that we kind of all know, like, if you've been in real estate for long enough, most of us have an idea of the daily tasks that we should be doing every single day in order to generate more business, more seller appointments, more buyer appointments, whatever. But the thing that we all struggle with, myself included, is that we get busy, right? When you're a small business owner, and I know a lot of agents are really, solo entrepreneurs, you're the only person that works for your company. It can be hard to have the same routine every single day, especially as an agent. A lot of stuff blows up every single day, right? It's really good to say, and I hear a lot of people say this, well, just time block or spend the first 3 hours of your day doing the prospecting activities or doing what you need to do. And I totally agree with that. But I would say the reality of it is, for most people, they don't do it. So while, we can know that, yes, does it make sense for you to block off your first 3 hours of the day every day to prospect and to find sellers? Yes. But if you're not doing it, or you're not able to do it, then you've got to look and say, is there another solution? And what I'm talking about today is a potential solution on how to generate seller appointments with you not necessarily being the person that does those daily activities every single day. Okay. So I'm going to go through a variety of different ways that I've used virtual assistants to help me generate seller appointments. I will say that I would highly recommend you not try to do all of these at once. If you are looking to generate more seller appointments, you're looking to generate more listings, you're looking to generate more flip opportunities, I would start with one, and I would master one until you're generating at least a few seller appointments a week through one of these methods. Okay. So I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of these different methods. And I will say again, what country you hire from and how much you pay somebody is going to be dependent on the type of tasks that you need to do. And I'll talk countries really quick as well. What I found, and this is my experience, and I can promise you that different people have had different experiences with this. But what I have found is that the two countries that I use are Mexico and the Philippines. And I use them for different purposes, and I'll explain to you why. What I found, just in a general thing, is that when you hire somebody in the Philippines, in general, if you hire a good person, they're really good at rule following and doing process-driven things over and over again every single day. In general, they tend to be super loyal. And in general, you're going to be able to pay them a little bit less, like $3, $4, $5 an hour. Now, what I found with hiring people in the Philippines for doing anything related to talking on the phone or communications is that although they do tend to speak fairly good English, especially in New England where I'm located, a lot of the stuff gets lost in translation and their effectiveness is not super high. Meaning that while they may appear to speak fairly good English, the person on the other end of the phone knows that they're not a US-based person, and may think it's a scam or may have an issue, and it may not translate into a bunch of opportunities for you. And so that goes not just for calls, but for text messages, and any type of communication like that. And the other country that I use is Mexico. And the reason I like Mexico is because you have a lot of US born or people that have lived in the US that now live in Mexico. Now, whether they lived in Mexico originally, came to the US for a few, or lived in the US for a few, now they came to Mexico. I've had really good luck in general with the communications part when it comes to Mexico. Now, what I look for when I hire in Mexico is I look for somebody that speaks perfect English with no accent, no anything, and also somebody who has lived in the US for at least a couple of years and can talk specifically about geographic locations and can have a conversation where when they get somebody on the phone, the person on the other end of the phone does not think that for whatever reason, their computer is going to be hacked or there's going to be anything like that going on. All right, so those are the two countries that I like in terms of finding the people. I post on Indeed, and if you post on Indeed in either of those countries, you will get so many applicants that it will be hard for you to. It will be very hard to filter through them. Now, I will mention that there's a lot of companies that will say that they do this for you, or they're going to provide you with the VA. They're going to train the VA. They're going to give you somebody that's awesome. And then obviously they're going to mark up that price. What I have personally found through, my own, experience is that I have not had much luck with third-party companies doing this for me. And then they mark up the price. So it's kind of like a lose-lose. I've always done the best when I personally trained the person myself and I worked alongside that person myself and I created the metrics myself and I interviewed to find the person myself. And like I said, if you throw an ad up on Indeed for a couple bucks a day, in both of those countries, the Philippines and in Mexico, you are going to find a ton of people. Now, again, going back to the countries really quick, that is not to say that there are not other countries out there that you can look at. But I'm telling you, from my experience, like where I personally look and where I've had success with, and those are the couple of countries that I've done well with that I would recommend. And I can't really speak, necessarily to the others. I have heard other people tell me that there are, other countries that they've had success with. But those are the two that I would personally look at and I would recommend. All right. So, you're throwing an ad up there. You're obviously going to talk to a bunch of people. You definitely do not want to, do this fast. There's a saying, hire slow, fire fast. And, it's definitely true. It's true regardless if it's a VA or not. For both of these people, the way I like to do it is I like to tell them that they're working on a trial in the beginning so that they know that, you have certain metrics that you want them to hit. And that if they achieve them, then they can expect to work for you full time. But if not, then, it doesn't necessarily work. So I like to set that expectation that the first 2, 4, 6 weeks or 2 months are kind of like a trial. And then at that point, if they perform, and you need to have KPIs, key performance indicators, like you need them to know, and you need to know what success is. So whether you're having them, work on social media, or you're having them do calls or text messages, or whether you're having them make offers like, scan the MLS or scan auction sites for you, you've got to have key performance indicators so that you both know whether you're on track. So that's in terms of just hiring and making sure you're getting the right person and managing them. And there's a lot I could say on this, topic. Like I could go on and on this, but I do want to hit on the different aspects of like what I've utilized them for in the past, how it can work and how it can kind of, help you generate more seller appointments, more flip opportunities, etc. So I'm going to go over the methods in a second, but before I do so, I just want to mention that we are continuously doing a call on Wednesday. every single Wednesday that you can jump on. If you have heard about the partner program and you want to partner with us on fix and flip deals, or you're interested in getting seller appointments that we're now working and giving to agents, make sure that you jump on that partner call at your earliest convenience at www.partnerwithagentinvestor.com. Every week, I do kind of a similar call where I cover the same things over and over again, which are, how do you get seller appointments from us? Which are, how do you partner with us? How do you find deals? How does the partnership program work? So if you kind of like the idea of getting seller appointments directly from us, or you like the idea of partnering with us, make sure that you jump on the next call. They're all live, so you can ask questions. Again, that's www.partnerwithagentinvestor.com. All right, so let's talk about the ways now in which we can generate these opportunities. And these are in no particular order, but these are how I've used virtual assistants to generate fix and flip opportunities and seller appointments. Okay. All right. So one that I want to start with is text messaging. And now I'm going to talk about text messaging and calls. And I just want to say with both of them, you have to make sure that you're doing this compliantly. There has been a lot of lawsuits, and there have been a lot of issues that people have had when they're not following the Telephone Consumer Protection Act guideline. So I'm putting this out there because what I don't want you to do is I don't want you to do a bunch of illegal stuff, get into trouble, and then have an issue. So I would say both with texting and with calling, you just need to make sure that when somebody's texting or when somebody's calling, that you're doing it compliantly. I don't have, the couple hours it's going to take to talk about that, but there are ways to do it and ways not to. So texting and calling, are kind of like one and the same, right? You're reaching out to people, seeing if they'd ever consider, a cash offer on their property. If you've ever considered selling, would you consider an offer? I've been doing the cash offer call to action for years. It works far better than a listing, call to action. If you reach out to somebody and you say, hey, I want to list your house, the probability of you getting an appointment goes way down because most people know an agent, but most people don't know what a cash offer would look like. So we get appointments every single week where we meet with the person, we get in the door, and they kind of know an agent, but then we end up listing their house anyways because they were interested in the cash offer. So the scripting on it is definitely pretty simple, where we're a home buying company that's in your area. We're looking to buy properties. Would you ever consider an offer on your house at, now or at any point in the future? Keeping it really simple. This is not a script class, but that's what you're going to be doing when you're calling or texting. And like I mentioned, a few minutes ago, if you're going to hire somebody to have those conversations, I want somebody that has lived in the United States. It doesn't have to be Mexico. I mentioned Mexico as kind of like, where we hire from, but somebody that speaks good English, even if they're texting, right, has good grammar, clearly appears that they are from, the United States, because, especially when it comes to a random message or a random call, the biggest fear that people have is that something is a scam. And when it comes to the cash offer business and a we buy houses type business, for whatever reason, our business has the connotation like that it is a scam. I don't even know why, but it definitely has that. So you don't want to heighten that thought by hiring somebody who, like we've had people in the Philippines sending text messages or making calls, and you can just tell by, the way that they might mention a street or the way that they might refer to a house, that they don't live in the U.S. So you want somebody that's lived in the U.S. that can talk not just English, but talk as though they have lived in the U.S. Okay. So when you're talking about text messaging, there's a bunch of different programs. The one that I have used in the past is called Lead Sherpa. There's a million others, and Lead Sherpa helps you do text messaging compliantly. And what that allows you to do is it allows you to pull records. It allows you to send out a bunch of messages compliantly, basically saying, hey, are you interested in selling your house? And then you're going to have that person work the responses and kick the leads up to you. So again, like, why do we need virtual assistants in this case? Well, we don't need them. You, as a US based person, could do this work yourself. But the problem is that you need to do it every day. So if you're going to use text messaging or anything that I talk about today as a proactive approach to do it, like, you've got to do it every day. What virtual assistants are really good at is sitting at a desk and doing tasks, right? So when you're out on the road meeting with sellers, signing somebody's yard, signing an acquisition deal, checking out your most recent investment property, you're not doing those daily activities, okay? Now let me flip it to cold calling, which again, you've got to do it compliantly. It's a similar type thing. I would definitely recommend having someone make calls that has lived in the United States. And again, you're going to go through a list, you're going to build your database, and you're going to be calling through whatever targeted records you want over and over again, asking the same question. Now, where this is important and where I've screwed up and I've seen other people screw up is like trying to really get the virtual assistant to like do everything from intro to book an appointment, where I believe that the better method here is to just focus on them making a bunch of calls and really sending the people to you that are interested in having a conversation. Now, they're not going to find 1 million people a day that are interested in having this conversation. But where I've seen a little bit of an issue is somebody basically having VAs, make these calls and set the appointment. And then there was just a lot lost in translation. So what I'm really looking for a virtual assistant to do if they're making a phone call is just to find somebody who like is willing to be like, yeah, I'd consider it. Okay, great. Like, I'm just I'm the intro person that's making these phone calls. I'm going to introduce you to somebody on my team who can have a much better conversation. And by the way, I don't think there's anything wrong with that person, saying that they're not, nearby, right? But you want to stress that person is going to be put in touch with you or somebody from your sales team that's a local area expert. Okay, so when it comes to calling, that's kind of the way I would do that. And again, I could do a whole class on texting or calling, but I'm giving you guys some ideas. And what I said in the beginning is utilize one of these. Go down the rabbit hole with one of these. If you're going to send text messages, go down the rabbit hole of how to do that. You're going to make calls, go down the rabbit hole of how to do that. All right. The next one is auctions. And this is just another way that, you can buy properties. If you've ever kind of gone to auctions or bought properties at auctions in the past, you'll know that there's a lot of organization that goes into figuring out what appointments are happening which day. And at least like in Massachusetts where I live, there are probably 10 or 15 auction websites every single day that you kind of need to scour through and manage a Google sheet to say what appointments are happening on which day and what company and how much of a deposit do you need. So when it comes to looking for auctions to go to, let me back up for a second. If you want to buy houses at auction, you need to go to a lot of them, because a lot of times you show up at an auction gets canceled, bank buys the property back, you get outbid. So you've got to have it in your head that you're at least going to hit, call it like 10 in a week. So which 10 do you hit and how do you like structure that? Well, the way I would do it with the VAs, I would say, and I used to do this, and I'm happy to share like, some of my auction spreadsheets with people that I used to create when we used to buy at auction. They would send me a spreadsheet every single day, basically listing out where the auctions were. And I would look at them typically the night before, like where they were, where I'd have to be, how to manage it, logistically, so that again, you as the busy salesperson are not having to do that admin work. And the other reason I like it is I use a VA sending me the auction spreadsheet as like a reminder to me. Like, hey, you've got to go to auctions tomorrow. Here are the 4 or 5 that you could potentially attend. If it hasn't kind of come through already, a lot of what I'm utilizing virtual assistants for is the consistency of which the administrative work gets done. Like on a text message, like I'm not saying I don't believe that like the VA should do a lot of the conversation, but they should be doing a lot of the admin to get a response that, yes, I'm interested. The calls, the response, the person on the other end to say, yes, I'm interested. The auctions, like, which one should I go to? Okay. And they're doing it repetitively on a day-to-day basis. And it's like an email, right? When we're in sales, we're agents. We're all good at responding to texts. We're all good at responding to emails. It's like what we do. Like we live in a reactionary thing. So you're having the virtual assistant do the proactive part, and then you're reacting to what they're doing, if that makes sense. All right, on to the next thing. All right, MLS. So most of you know I'm not a big proponent of buying properties on the MLS. I don't partner on deals that are on the MLS. I don't know that I've even bought a deal on the MLS in the last 5 or 6 years. But I do know that there are some people on here who do it. And so when you could buy properties on the MLS and it was a lot easier, I would utilize virtual assistants, and I've got another spreadsheet for this, where virtual assistants would plug in the properties that they thought were good opportunities for me to look at, and also what my offer might be. They would calculate out the ARV, and they would look and they would put kind of an offer into the spreadsheet. Now, again, how am I utilizing this? I'm utilizing this not for them to send the offer, because that's probably not going to be a great way to get a deal done, but maybe to write up an offer and maybe to find the properties that I think would be good to make offers on. And now I've got that. Like I've got an offer. If I review it and I think it's low or too high, I might make an adjustment. But I'm utilizing them to write offers and to organize the properties that I should probably be making offers on based on the rules that I've given them. So like everything else that we've talked about with getting a great deal, it's a volume game. So, just like I said, you need to hit at least 10 auctions in a week. Well, you're going to have to make at least 10 offers a week, at least 10 auctions, at least 10 offers, at least 100 phone calls a day, at least a few hundred text messages a day. So again, they are the ones that are setting you up for success, with buying properties on the MLS. All right, the next one I'm going to talk about is agent networking. Now, if you're listening to this, you are probably in a virtual assistant funnel that I have set up. Okay, so so what I do, I'm looking to partner with agents. I'm looking to get deals from agents. So what do? I do a few things, but I'll just explain, high level how this works with the VA. First things first, I use VAs to figure out what agents have a bunch of listings every year. And I've created a database of who those agents are. If you've taken and sold more than 4 or 5 listings in a year, I know that's not like a tremendous volume, but those people come across opportunities. So I've created the database. Then, and I talk about this in conjunction with social media. I don't have 5,000 friends and 8,000 followers because 5,000 people like me and 8,000 people want to follow me. I have that because I proactively friend request and send messages to people every day. So it is very likely, if you're listening to this right now, that you've been a part of my funnel at some point, that you've been reached out to in some way by a virtual assistant through my Facebook account or through my email or through my text message or whatever, that has basically said, hey, Tom's team, we're looking for deals. We're looking to buy houses. We've got this partnership opportunity. Now, as an agent, you don't need to offer the partnership opportunity. You can do whatever you want. But it's a way to generate opportunities from agents on off-market deals, and a way for you to reach out to the agents you want to reach out to try to find opportunities. So if I'm utilizing this method, I'm probably going to say, well, where do I want to buy houses, and who are the listing agents that have the listings in the towns that I want to buy properties? And I'm going to definitely friend request them on social media. I'm definitely going to send them a message on social media. And then I'm going to proactively continue to post on social media, maybe try to find their email to add to my email list, etc. All tasks that can be completely done by a virtual assistant, except for the posting. So I think another like theme that you've probably heard me kind of talk about, if you haven't noticed it yet, is like I'm big on having virtual assistants do the initial connection, but not actually build the relationship. So if a virtual assistant sends a Facebook message to somebody, they're never allowed to respond back. They might send my message, hey, this is Tom Caffarella. My company buys 150 houses a year. We're looking to do more flips. You ever come across a flip opportunity? They'll send that initial like administrative message out. As soon as the response comes back in, I'm responding because now I've got a lead. Just like when they make a phone call. If the person says, yeah, I'm interested, I don't want them going any further. Now that goes to my sales team. Same thing with the text. Same thing with MLS. Like I don't want a VA submitting an offer to an agent that's, going to have typographical errors or going to have some verbiage in there that doesn't make sense. I want to make that phone call and I want to talk. So virtual assistants do administrative work. Salespeople do sales work. Salespeople, I think, have to be in the US. All right. Salespeople for most solo entrepreneurs have to be you until you have more people that can work for you, or if you ever want to get to that point. All right. So I kind of went through most of the stuff, and I really did this high level on purpose. This was not meant to be a class on how to do social media or how to do cold calling or text messaging or how to make offers on MLS or how to do auctions or anything like that. I do in-depth training in our Inner Circle program every single month. I talk about the Inner Circle on that partnerwithagentinvestor.com call. My Inner Circle, for those of you who don't know it, like there are free ways to get free coaching and to be in the Inner Circle. It's something that if you're serious about doing more flips, if you're serious about building your listing side of your business, you should jump on this call at www.partnerwithagentinvestor.com. You'll learn about our Inner Circle program, how you can get free mentoring, free coaching on how to do all this stuff. You'll get one-on-one access to me whenever you need help. You'll learn about how to get seller appointments, and you'll learn about how to partner with us, right? Because take a step back, like what are we looking to do? If you're on this call, I hope that I hope that you're on the path towards building wealth through real estate sales and investing. I mean, if you're not, you're probably listening to the wrong live stream, the wrong podcast. That's what we teach and preach people how to do. How to combine real estate sales and investing to not only make a bunch of money every year. Yeah, that's great. But how do you then transition it into passive income every single month so that you're earning $5, $10, $15, $20,000 plus per month of passive income so that you don't have that stress of being like, hey, I need to do my next deal. Hey, I need to work with this, client that I don't feel like working with. Hey, I need to travel outside of my market because I need my next transaction. That's what Agent Investor is all about. That's what we teach and preach on. It does take time. It does take hard work. It's why our Inner Circle coaching program is not a 6-month commitment. It's not a 1-year commitment. Like it's lifetime, because it's going to take you 2 or 3 or 4 years to achieve anything that's worth talking about. Like I might be able to help you find a fix and flip here and there now. Might be able to help you increase your sales or get an additional listing. But the life-changing stuff, that's the stuff that like the reason I created Agent Investor, where multiple people who have followed this method have already achieved that, and you can too. That's what this is all about. So if the message today resonated with you, make sure you jump on that call at www.partnerwithagentinvestor.com. I hope you guys got valuable content out of what I've already created, but I'd love to work with more of you guys, more closely than just having you listen and download a podcast or watch a video on Facebook. There's a lot more that can be done if we have a better connection. So again, go to www.partnerwithagentinvestor.com. I hope you got some value today, and we'll be back again very soon.